know it's been a while, but welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm Jarvis, and I'm here with a new deck tech. This time it's going to be Ratadrabik of Urborg. Before we get into the deck tech, just wanted to remind you, you could go and find all my socials and my mox field by following the link in the description below. Today I am going to go and do this deck tech on Ratadrabik of Urborg, who is a 2 white-black Orzhov Legendary creature, zombie wizard for a 3/3. Vigilance Ward 2. Other zombies you control have Vigilance. And whenever another legendary creature you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's non-legendary and it's a 2/2 black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. So the main goal of this deck is to play lots of legendary creatures. We're playing a total of 23. And we have a small token synergy and also some recursion, as well as quite a bit of removal in the form of board wipes and single target removal. Start off the legendary creatures. Playing Ow, the Dawn Sky, 3 white, Dragon Spirit. When it dies, you can look at the top 7 cards of your library, put any number of non-land permanent cards with total mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Or you can put 2+1/+1 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature or vehicle. In this deck, most likely we will, more often than not, choose the 2+1/+1 counters, simply because we won't get a ton of value of the value 4 or less. Aaron, Benalia's Ruin, white-black. Menace, for a white and a black, you can tap it, sacrifice another creature, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. With Aaron being able to sacrifice another creature, you can sacrifice one of your other legendaries and bring them back. So this is a good sack outlet, and you'll see a few of our legendary creatures do become the sack outlet. Athreus, God of Passage, 1 white and a black. Indestructible, as long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, it is not a creature. And whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. So yet again, the recursion that we need. Ayara, First of Locthwain, black. When she or another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. More importantly, she acts as a sacrifice outlet by tapping her and you can draw a card. Eily, Eternal Pilgrim, white and a black. Death Touch, for 1, sacrifice another creature. You gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. And 1 white-black, sacrifice another creature, exile target non-land permanent, activate this ability only if you have at least 10 life more than your starting life total. More often than not, we are not going to be able to exile non-land permanents, but we will be gaining life, and it gives us that sack outlet. Benny Breck's Zoologist, 3 and a white, has Convoke, meaning that you could tap creatures to pay for the mana cost. And with creating tokens, we should go a little wider there. But at the beginning of each end step, if you create a token this turn, draw a card. Braids, Arisen Nightmare, 1 black. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. Card draw and another sack outlet. Ellis, Ilkor, Sadistic Pilgrim, white and a black. Death Touch, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Just a nice little 2-drop that goes and does incidental damage and gains you incidental life. Elenda, the Dusk Rose, 2 white-black, lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, put a counter on Elenda. Whenever Elenda dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Elenda's power. Like I said, small token sub-theme. Elshnorn, Grand Cenobite, 5 white, Vigilance. Other creatures you control get +2/+2. Creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. Way to buff your board while controlling your opponents. God, Eternal Bantu, 3 black. Menace. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of other permanents, then draw that many cards. So card draw, sack outlet, and most important, he himself has a recursion by when he dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it 3rd from the top of your library. Meaning that you could go have it die, get the token of it, get the sack effect of it, draw cards, and put him back in your library as well. Since with Ratadrabik, you're just creating a token, you're not removing it from the library at all. Illuminor Ceres, 2 and a black. It's a Necron, it's from the Warhammer 40k, has Secrets of the Soul. Tap it, sacrifice another creature at an amount of black mana equal to the sacrificed creature's mana value. It's ramp, and we always need ramp. Junji, the Midnight Sky, 3 black, flying menace. When it dies, choose 1. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Or you put a target non-dragon creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control and you lose 2 life. So you can recur your own creatures, or if you're not going to recur your own creatures, you could go and draw 2. Have them discard 2 and lose 2 lives. More often than not, recur your creatures. Comball, Console of Allocation, 1 white, black. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Just a little punishing effect there, and it's just a really good card overall. Kunaros, Hound of Athreos, 1 white, black. Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink. Creature cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards. So it shuts off graveyard decks. There will be times that it does go and affect our deck, but that's why we have sack outlets to get rid of it when it becomes a problem. Lisa, Forgotten Archangel, 2 white, black, flying, lifelink. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile instead. Shuts off your opponent's death effects while allowing you to get your legendary creatures back to your hand. Ravos, Soul Tender, 3 white, black. Flying. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Yet again, that recursion that you need. Shieldred, Whispering 1, 5 black, Swamp Walk. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature, controls the board state, and recurs your creatures. Sidisi, Undead Vizier, 3 black, Death Touch. Also has Exploit. When Sidisi exploits a creature, you may sacrifice you may search your library for a card and put it into your hand and then shuffle your library. The really good synergy I like with this is that you can exploit Sidisi themselves, get your tutor effect, return the token of Sidisi to the battlefield, and either exploit Sidisi again or exploit another creature, and you get 2 tutors for the low price of 5 mana. Sir Conrad the Grim, 3 black. Whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card that leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. And then for 1 and a black, each player mills 1. Sir Conrad is my favorite commander of all time, and the amount of damage that he will do in both you being able to sacrifice your creatures and you going and recurring your creatures with the recursion effects that you have in your deck can deal a lot of incidental damage where it becomes a problem for your opponents quite quickly. Teysa Karlov, 2 white, black. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Creature tokens you control have Vigilance and Lifelink. Death Harmonicon. And especially when your commander cares about death triggers, very important, and it gives your tokens that Vigilance and Lifelink, which they already have Vigilance because they're zombies from your commander, but it gives you Lifelink, so it allows you to gain some of that life back. Whisper Blood Liturgist, 3 and a black. Tap 2, sacrifice 2 creatures, and return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Graveyard recursion and a sack outlet. Yaheni, Undying Partisan, 2 and a black. Haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Sacrifice another creature, and it gains indestructible until end of turn. So another sack outlet for your deck, which, as you see, can be quite important. Now, our small token synergy that we have Anointed Procession for 3 and a white. It's an enchantment. If an effect will create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many twice that many of those tokens instead. So 2 Sir Conrads, 2 Teysa Karlovs. You just think about everything you just double and all the effects you get just by having 2 of those creatures, because the tokens that come back are non-legendary. Ink Shield, 3 a white and a black. It acts as protection because it prevents all combat damage that will be dealt to you this turn. Plus, for each 1 damage you prevent, you get to make a 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying. Legion Loyalty, probably the best finisher we have in the deck. 6 white. Creatures you control have Myriad, which means that when you attack one of your opponents, you create a token tapped and attacking each of your other opponents as well. Rootborn Defenses, 2 and a white, populate, which means that you go and create a token copy of another token you have. And it also gives your creatures indestructible this turn. Song of the World Soul, 4 white. It's another enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell, populate. Now, recursion. We have Academian's Awakening, X black sorcery. You can return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each have a different converted mana cost X or less. It also acts as one of our lands. As Academian the Undercrypt enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 life. If you don't, enters the battlefield tapped, and it also taps for black. Living Death is 3 black. Each player sacrifices all creature cards from their graveyard. Exiles all creature cards from their graveyard, then sacrifice all creatures they control, then puts all cards they exiled this way onto the battlefield. So it allows you to go and get all your legendary creatures back from the graveyard. You just lose those tokens that you had, but you have all these legendary creatures back, so you can start your engine again. Luminous Broodmoth, 2 white. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. Where this is really cool is you go sacrifice one of your legendary creatures. You get the token of it, plus you get the flying original of it as well. Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, 5 white and a black. It's a legendary sorcery, meaning that you have to control a legendary permanent to cast it, or a legendary creature or planeswalker, not just a permanent. Return all legendary permanent cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. We're running 23 legendary creatures. That's a lot of legendary permanents that you have the chance to get back. Victimize, 2 and a black. Sorcery, choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. And now we have a removal. We have quite a bit of removal, mostly because it actually board wipes really synergize well with our commander. English Stone Making, 1 a white and a black. Exile target non-land permanent. You lose 3 life. Damn, black. It's a sorcery. You destroy target creature. A creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated, but it has overload for 2 white. So Wrath of God. Dire Tactics, white and a black. Exile target creature. If you don't control human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. Farewell, 4 white. You can choose 1 or more. Exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or graveyards. Generous Gift, 2 and a white. Destroy target permanent. Its control gets a 3/3 green elephant creature token. Haggard Mauling, 2 black. It destroys target creature, and it also acts as a land that it can tap for black mana in Haggard Brood Pit. Heliod's Intervention, X white. You can choose 1. Either destroy X target artifacts and or enchantments, or target player actually gains X life. Mortify, 1 white. Destroy target creature or enchantment. Path to Exile, single white. Exile target creature. Its controller may search the library for a basic land card, and you put it onto the battlefield tapped. Or they put it onto the battlefield tapped. Swords 2 Plowshares, a single white. Exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Toxic Deluge, 2 and a black. As an additional cost to cast it, pay X life. All creature gets get -X until end of turn. X is the amount of life you paid. Utter End, 2 a white and a black. Exile target non-land permanent. Vanishing Burst, a white and a black. Exile target monocolored permanent. Vanquish the Horde, 6 white white. I know that sounds expensive, but it costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, and it destroys all creatures. Then we have ramp, card draw, and other good stuff. Stuff that doesn't really fit into any other categories. Arcane Signet, Black Market Connections, which is 2 and a black. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, choose 1 or more. Create a treasure token, draw, and you lose 1 life. Draw a card and lose 2 life. Create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter creature token with Changeling, lose 3 life. Dark Prophecy is black, black, black. Whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Dark Ritual is a single black and you make 3 black. Deadly Dispute is 1 and a black. It's an instant where you have to sacrifice an artifact or creature as part of the cost, but then you get to draw 2 cards and create a treasure. Tyrannith Magistrate, 1 and a white. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Belwar Stone, 2 generic. Tap it, add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. Lightning Greaves, Mind Stone. Phyrexian Arena is 1 black black. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may draw a card and you lose 1 life. Relic of Legends. It's 3 generic mana. This is very important in our deck. You could tap and add 1 mana of any color, but you can tap an untapped legendary creature you control and add 1 mana of any color. So if we get a lot of legendary creatures out, we could go and ramp quite quickly with Relic of Legends. Smothering Tithe. Everyone knows it, and you pay the 2. Soul Ring, Swiftfoot Boots, Talisman of Hierarchy, which is the Orzhov Talisman, Thought Vessel. Basir's Seer is a single black, and you sacrifice a creature and scry 1. I didn't go and include my list of lands in this. Overall, we're playing 35 lands plus the 2 MDFCs, so you can say a total of 37 lands. This deck, you can tell, just wants to go play as many legendary creatures as possible, sacrifice them, recur them, and do it all over again. Hopefully you enjoyed this deck tech. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yet again, you can go and follow me by clicking on the link tree in the description. You'll find my Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Moxfield, all that good stuff there. But until next time, have a good one.